I've written a letter to Daddy. His address is heaven above.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Aurora, I hope, is starting to lose a taste for my neck. So, without further ado, I am going to plunge right in to the latest review of the Tom Bower book, which again, I would say, is well worth everybody buying and reading. And I have to say, it surprises me that one or two, but not that many, but one or two people seem to think that a book review is supposed to layer the author in praise even when he or she makes a mistake. It's not being malicious to point out that in a book review that something is amiss. In fact, it is the duty of the reviewer. So hopefully that will clarify matters. And I will revert back to chapter 24. I'm not going to start at the very beginning of it, because I did cover some of it the last time, but several of you wanted me to go back into it, so I am going to do so. And I am going to start it not at the beginning, but sort of in the middle. We will start with Jason Knopf's memorandum to his superior, which is covered rather well by Mr. Bower, who then goes into the Australian tour. He goes into this in some depth, showing that although on the surface it was a public relations coup for Meghan and Harry, behind the scenes, Meghan was absolutely determined that she was going to be cast by herself and Harry into the role of victim, that they were being used by the dreadful royal family and the dreadful royal institution. As Mr. Bower has made clear, he believes that Meghan's agenda was never to settle here and always to wrench Harry and his royal status away from her and have it working for her monetary gain and their ultimate fame in the United States of America. And he touches upon that in this section. Meghan and Harry were actually getting a very, very good press at this point. But Bower shows it wasn't enough. Harry especially had to humiliate and really be pretty nasty to the press, even though they were doing at that point a very good job. Well, this tour, which was in large measure due to the way it was reported and to Meghan and Harry's performance, hers especially, it was reported as being a great success. And blow me down if it didn't go to Megsy baby and Harry's head. And since he was always big-headed, And every little bit of success she's had has inflated that hydrocephalic head that she was born with. Because, I mean, she has the hugest head that any human being this side of normal could possess. And it expands with every success, figuratively, if not literally. And Harry, of course, was busy congratulating Meghan on, "Oh, Megsy baby, you're just like Mummy. You're the greatest success." And Meghan, by the end of it all, believed what Harry had told her and what she wanted to believe, which was she was single-handedly the savior of the monarchy. While Bower is covering this aspect of it, he makes the point that Megsy baby is in touch with her American representatives. And I know this to be a fact because it's in my book as well. She is finding ways of marching. Remember, don't give the milk away free. And she's not going to be giving that milk away if she can possibly help it. Why should the people of the British nation and the Commonwealth benefit from, why should they benefit from my labours when I can benefit? I mean, am I some sort of a schlump? I mean, we all know that my mother says, never give the milk away for nothing. Gotta work those buns, yes. But she's dealing with Americans, and the Americans, no matter how sophisticated, are very naive in terms of the British monarchy. And they don't know the rules, they don't know the constraints, they don't care about either the rules or the constraints. And they are setting up pies in the sky, overinflating, misreading. Meghan's little bit of success in Australia is now a mega marching deal, and they are all guaranteed for her to make trillions, not even billions. I mean, why limit our sights? She'll make trillions and they'll make billions in commission. Then the proof of the pudding, as Mr. Bower shows us, is in the eating, because he mentions on page 240 about the birth of Archie. It's actually Archie, A-R-C-H-E. But since none of them knows how to pronounce it, I'll go with their flow. Archie. And so on the back of Meghan's Australian success, they are busy registering commercial sites with the name Archie, A-R-C-H-E. Talk about an arch planner. I mean, that woman should join some county council and be the town planner. Then, on page 241, I want to get to it. Meghan is now in full flow with the little bit of success that she's had Because she's now Diana Mac too. Harry has said it. She has said it. They believe it. It is therefore a fact. And no one's going to be able to take that away from them. At least that's what they believe. So Meghan is now in full flow, empowered by her success and her variable recollections. And she stands up and gives a speech where she says, I am also fully aware of the challenges of being able to afford this level of schooling for many people around the world, myself included. It was with scholarships, financial aid programs, and work study from my earnings from a job on campus that went directly towards my tuition that I was able to attend university. And without question, it was worth every effort. Then Mr. Bower continues. In Rosarito, Thomas Markle exploded. I'm sorry, but that is completely true, he told the media. I paid every penny of her tuition, and I have the bank statements to prove it. I told Meg I would pay for her education, and I did. It's what any father would do. I paid for her trips to Spain and England. I paid for her internship in Argentina. You see how Meghan's little bit of success has to be spun. So anyway, she's busy spinning it, and her tendency to exaggeration is simply accompanied by her tendency to spitefulness, because she is now in Fiji in the market, and she goes over to the group of UN women, and she goes ballistic because she was not made an ambassador by Elizabeth, whatever her name was. And she storms out because these poor unfortunate women who are allied to an organization that she allied herself to have had the temerity to show up at a place that she is a guest of honor. Oh dear, oh dear. But 3 people believe, at least, that Meghan is now going to be as big, if not bigger, than Diana. One has been, the other is never was, and as things would turn out, never will be. And the third is amid scabies, that terrible itch that gets everywhere that Meghan is. Scabies is as well. And there is this wonderful bit in the book where we have Mr. Scabies being quoted by Mr. Bower. Well worth reading. We also have Mr. Bower reporting on Harry and Meghan, because remember, they're as big as Diana, and they're going to be much bigger than Diana, because Diana wasn't officially a woman of colour, although she did have Indian blood, as I revealed in Diana in Private, the Princess Nobody Knows. So she was technically mixed race as well, as indeed are Harry and Meghan, Harry and William, just from that connection alone. Tiny little bit of Indian blood, but Meghan doesn't have that much black blood either. So if she's managed to turn herself a lighter shade of cafe au lait into black, I don't see why Harry and William can't turn themselves into subcontinentals after all. The one-drop rule must apply across the board. Used to apply with racists, now it applies with proto-racists. Well, Bower then shows how Harry and Meghan's demands and their unrealistic expectations are threatening the royal institution and its reputation, because we can't have Megsy baby marching all about the place. Oh, can I please have presents from the designers? Please, please, please. And what about those fabulous earrings those wonderful earrings made of blood diamonds? Can I please not only have them, but wear them? So, Bower shows how the press is leaked information by people at the palace, and the floodgates open, hoping to restrain Meghan and Harry. That's how I came to write my book, Meghan and Harry, the Real Story. I was approached by people in the know, hoping that if I did a latter-day version of Diana in Private, it would make Meghan realize, and Harry, of course, because he follows where she leads, that the best option was for them to remain as royals in the palace and not prostituting their royal positions and endangering the integrity and reputation of the royal family. Well, that encourages Megsy baby, because she is the sort of person that you knock her down, she comes back up twice as strong. It also has to be said that that indefatigable trait is also a symptom not only of courage and character, but of sociopathy taken to its outer limits. It is a sign of sociopathy. Sociopaths can never be wrong, and no matter what happens, they're going to have to top you. Well, the chapter ends with Megsy baby and scabies plotting and planning to write the book, funding freedom and finding freebies. Not the truth, their truth. Remember, she's black, with the dead straight hair from the 1,000 Turkish virgins, and the skin that is much lighter than many a Mediterranean, and the newly enhanced Caucasian features. She's black because it suits her. And he, of course, we need to remember, is biracial. His father is Caucasian and his mother is Caucasian. So that makes him biracial. So we have the two anti-racists hopping on the bandwagon, gonna be playing those race drums for all they're worth. Chapter 25 is called Suicide. Oh dear, oh dear. My heart would break for Megsy baby had she ever been suicidal. But I have to tell you, I am as one with Piers Morgan on this. I don't and never did believe a word of it. And unlike Piers and Meghan, I know what it's like to have been genuinely suicidal. So, I speak from a certain amount of experience as to the fact that if Meghan was suicidal, I'm a bar of soap. But That's just my take on it. Maybe I have misunderstood because I'm not sensitive enough to see through tungsten to all the nerve endings that lie beneath that delicate flower. Anyway, the book begins on this chapter, begins on page 250, and I'm going to find it because it starts out interestingly enough and continues at the same pace. Meghan spotted an opportunity after Michelle Obama arrived in London to promote her best-selling autobiography. And it then goes on describing Meghan's supposedly purposeful meeting with Michelle Obama and how basically it doesn't quite work the way Meghan would like. It's worth reading. So we now have Meghan, who has an exceptional friend in John Fitzpatrick, quite a figure in the Democratic Party in the United States. Well, in terms of connections with people like Hillary. And I don't want to spoil it for you, so I would suggest that you read it. Because we now get to Meghan refusing to do royal engagements because she doesn't see why she should. I mean, she's there to receive, not to give. And she's going to talk about how she's going to do everything. But the only thing she's going to do is spend the money. So, Meghan is refusing to do royal engagements. And now Meghan and Harry and Jason Knopf are desperately cooperating to lie about aspects of what is about to emerge on page 254. I'm not going to tell you more than that. I think you should read it. It's very entertaining. We now get to the Frogmore cottage renovations. And Meghan, surprise, surprise, proves to be such a diva that everybody is ripping out their hair. Just as well they didn't try to rip out hers, as I don't think we could have possibly tolerated a shortage in the market on Turkish virgins' hair yet again. Now we come to the suicide nonsense. And as far as I'm concerned, it's nonsense. It's not only nonsense, I think it's deeply offensive to anybody who has ever been suicidal. There are some things that good taste requires that you simply do not do. There are certain depths to which one doesn't stoop. There are certain lines which one does not cross over. And playing the suicide card to manipulate your husband into taking you and your operation across the Atlantic where you can make more money than you could possibly make here is one of them. And if I am misreading her situation, I withdraw it. I don't think I am. That's my opinion of what happened. Tom Bower doesn't actually specify that, but I'm specifying it. The whole suicide thing is totally reprehensible, but it's well covered in the book. And after that, he goes on to people's betrayal of Thomas Markle Sr., or to be more accurate, Meghan's betrayal of her father, how she set him up. And it ends with People magazine portraying Meghan Markle as a paragon of virtue. This wonderful family woman who is a loyal friend, loyal family person, misused by her terrible father, who, remember, he didn't pay for her education. He's a liar. She is absolutely truthful. She was selling lemonade at 6 weeks old on the corner of Wilshire Boulevard and wherever else. And that was just the start of all the hawking of the wares that she did over the decades. And end of chapter, with Meghan having orchestrated the scenario so that she comes out smelling of roses, even though she's the stinker, and Thomas Markle, who is a decent man, comes out being portrayed as if he is a stinker and smelling of the most ungodly stench that he doesn't deserve. Now we come to chapter 27, which is entitled Baby Shower. Well, it opens with a very troubling bit of arithmetic, because Bower asserts that Meghan is 7.5 months pregnant. But the baby was born in May. So that means, what is it, an elephant? Because the gestation period for human beings is maximum 10 weeks. That's basically 9 calendar months. And although Bower doesn't touch upon it, I will make the point that at Eugenie's wedding, if you do the math, Meghan could only have been, I think it's 2 minutes and 22 seconds pregnant, if the math is correct. Yet she was already showing. I tell you, Mickey, please bring a cushion over here. Motty needs to pad herself. She needs to protect herself against the glare of the world. Unbelievable. Anyway, 7.5 months pregnant. That means Archie was an elephant, not a human being, and so is Meghan. Bower then goes into the rather entertaining and, quite frankly, disloyal to Britain aspect of how Meghan, who is a member of the British royal family, cuts a deal at the baby shower with Gayle King. And remember, She and Harry are in negotiations and have been from before the marriage with Oprah to do an interview. And Gail and Oprah, as we all know, are, as they would say in Jamaica, like Batty and Bench, or as I would say, like armpit and deodorant. Or shall we say, like bosom and brassiere. Hunky dory. And if Oprah will agree, which she will, Gail will get the exclusive on the birth of the baby. So here we have the member of the British royal family whose primary loyalty is not supposed to be to herself, her pocket, her career, or her personal advancement, but to the British monarchy and the British people. And here we have her prostituting herself by selling that to which she is not entitled for nothing except favors that will recoup money down the line via Oprah to Gail King, an exclusive on the birth of a British royal baby, cutting out the British media, and that means the British people as well. We then have a rather interesting section on Meghan and Vogue. Remember, Meghan guest edited Vogue? Well, Bower is really rather good on that, and on how Megsy Baby managed to antagonize even Edward Enninful, who is big on promoting women of colour. And good luck to him for wanting to do so. But, and this is not in Bower's book, but I know this from people in the fashion world who know him very well, he ended up ruining the day that he went along with Meghan's approaches. She didn't want to guest edit. She wanted the front cover. Again, this is not in the book that I'm now speaking about. This is my knowledge. But what is in the book is really worth reading, and how Enninful and Meghan effectively fell out. Now we come to chapter 28, Wellness. Bower rather entertainingly makes the point that Harry is a convert to a new religion. No, it's not Roman Catholicism. Nor is it Calvinism. Nor is it Presbyterianism. Nor is it Episcopalianism. It certainly isn't Islam, nor is it Jewry. It is wellness. Harry has discovered wellness. Meghan has introduced him to the concept of wellness. Bower doesn't put it quite like this, but I'm going to put it like this, although Bower puts it rather well himself. The way I'm going to put it is, Meghan, having introduced Harry to the delights that she is so adept at. And having understood that Harry is more malleable if he is in touch with his pain and his distress, can cure it all with the jobs that she was well known for giving him, to such an extent that his nickname was Something Jobs Harry. And avocado and wellness. Remember, Meghan is now going to be convincing Harry that he is trapped in a life of privilege, trapped in a life of service, when he could be free in California to make money and make a complete ass of himself, with her encouragement. So we now have on page 274 Harry has not only discovered wellness, he has discovered all sorts of nonsense about color, etc. And let's not forget the environment. Now, you would have thought that Prince Philip, who was one of the founding fathers of the ecological movement, would have been somebody that Harry would have rushed to foreknowledge. But no, BJ Harry had to rush to Meg's baby. I suppose when she came up for air, she blew hot air in his ears and told him all sorts of nonsense. So Harry, one private plane journey at a time, is now pontificating about, and Bowers is very witty about this and quotes Harry saying, "Every blade of grass, every ray of sun, and every raindrop is crucial to our survival," he told them. This, of course, is Harry giving one of his many pontificating speeches. 2 days later, Bower ends the paragraph, Harry had flown in a helicopter to Birmingham. Bower doesn't seem to understand that Harry is too important to have the ordinary rules applied to him. Yes, every carbon footprint that is unnecessary is going to destroy the world's ecology. But everything Harry does is necessary, whether it's flying on private jets or not. Bower makes an interesting point. He says that Harry has become a contrarian. Well, Harry was always a contrarian. He simply didn't have the courage of his convictions to be contrary all the time. He wavered between hail fellow, well met, I'm now saying this, and being a contrarian. But under Meghan's ministrations, Harry is developing into a fully blown bore. Sorry, I meant contrarian. Didn't mean bore. Of course, he can't be a bore. He's far too interesting and erudite and well-educated. Let's not forget, Harry has a degree in BS. Sorry. He's a Bachelor of Science. The science of rubbish. So now Meghan and Harry, under her ministrations, are laying the ground, according to Bower. And she is regaining her voice as an influencer via Instagram, because Meghan used to be an influencer and did rather well with the TIG. And Meghan doesn't like the fact that as a royal, she is to be non-controversial, apolitical, activistic in a neutral, life-enhancing way. She wants to be able to shoot her rubbish. She wants to be able to be in full flow with verbal diarrhea 8 days a week. So, Bower shows us in this chapter how Meghan is double dealing with Oprah behind the back of the palace. So while Lord Guyte, Christopher Guyte, who was the Queen's private secretary and a treasured person as far as the Queen was concerned, and undoubtedly a very wise captain of the royal ship through treacherous shoals, because he expected everybody to be restrained and constrained. So while Guyte is trying to lay down a viable formula that will please Meghan and Harry, he doesn't realize it. Meghan and Harry, or Meghan with Harry's collusion, might be more accurate, they are behind the scenes laying plans to scarp her. And it ends with an observation and an example of how Harry no longer cares about William and Catherine and any of the damage she, Meghan, and he, Harry, will do to the brother and sister-in-law who loved him and would have still liked to be able to continue to love him. But that's not possible, because Meghan and Harry are orchestrating an irrevocable split. So we come to chapter 29, which is called Pitching. It starts off with the birth of the baby Archie. But this is almost coincidental to these plots and schemes that Meghan and Oprah are involved with in trying to get her, Meghan, to be a huge star in the United States, and that Oprah, in her naivety, thinks that Meghan's going to just be able to knife everybody in the back, sail over to America, fly over on somebody's private jet, and that all her prestige will travel with her. These people obviously don't know that prestige is something that doesn't travel well. Ask anybody from an emigre family of any note, and they will tell you prestige suffers every time you cross a national border. I know that to my own cost. My family knows that to its cost. Everybody I know who is an emigre knows that to his or her own cost. But Oprah and Meghan, whose travels and history is so limited, they have no idea that that's reality. But anyway, that's how it opens. The exclusivity demanded by Oprah Winfrey matched Meghan's and Harry's mood for retaliation against the royal family, the media, and the British public. Because remember, Meghan needs enemies, and Harry has always loved having an enemy too, as I know only too well from how Harry attacked a friend of mine, a certain lord, which we won't go into now. To build up Meghan's profile in America, Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King had an exclusive agreement with Meghan to produce a glowing CBS TV documentary about her first year of marriage. Blah, blah, blah. So we now ease into the marriage. Sorry, the birth. Sorry. I'm slightly distracted. We now ease into the birth. There are some really rather interesting comments here. There is the disordered timeline. There is the fact that Meghan and Harry lied to the palace so the palace would promulgate false information to the world about Archie's time and place, etc. of birth. It's all there in black and white. That what the palace announced was deliberately misleading, not by the palace, but by Harry and Meghan. He also makes the valid assertion. With Harry's agreement, the palace also disclosed that the Sussexes had decided that Archie should not be a prince. Well, Harry was, I don't know how that came about, because Archie was never going to be a prince. Under the 1917 Act, there's no way the baby was ever going to be a prince at that juncture. Then we get onto one or two rather unfortunate errors that Mr. Bower has made. Just after the birth, Thomas Woodcock, the Garter at Arms. Excuse me, Mr. Bower. He's the Garter King of Arms. And if you're not giving anybody a title, fine. But if you are, he's Sir Thomas Woodcock. And he's known as the Garter King of Arms, otherwise known just as Garter. And we now get to the Gayle King exclusive, but where Bower rather naughtily points out that the world was shown a picture of a shawl, because no baby was shown. That is very witty, and more than that, I'm not prepared to say. I leave you to read the book and see for yourselves. We now have on page 282 how Meghan is, I think, well, I'll tell you what Bower says. Meghan's own explanation of those arrangements to Oprah Winfrey nearly 2 years later was contradictory. First, she said, "We weren't asked to take a picture. That was part of the spin. That was really damaging." Blah, blah, blah. Meghan has yet again set up a situation by creating obstructions and drama where she is now going to be able to spin it so that she is a victim. Then Bower makes a very good point, how all these mostly American people, but basically tradespeople, are hopping on the Meghan bandwagon, which, remember, the Meghan bandwagon has been firmly hitched to the royal family's bandwagon, and the royal family's bandwagon is there for the benefit of the British people, but Meghan's bandwagon is there for her personal and financial benefit. And now we have, according to Bower, a whole host of what I would contemptuously regard as arrivists of the most vulgar kind, hitching their bandwagons onto hers or jumping onto her bandwagon. Capitalizing on the wedding and baby shower had transformed other unknowns into celebrities, Bower says. By associating her designs with Meghan, Misha had opened a pop-up fashion boutique in central London and an intimate workshop, whatever the heck that is, for group sounding healing using crystal bowls. I ask you, the study in vulgarity is beyond belief. Jess Mulrooney, I gather is how it's pronounced in Canada. I thought the name was Mulroney, but I gather it's pronounced Mulrooney. Jess Mulrooney, newly dubbed by Harper's Bazaar as the fairy godmother of Canadian fashion, had finally secured a contract on ABC's Good Morning America, flaunting her relationship with Meghan. Well, Meghan had flaunted hers with Jess Mulrooney, like Babby Booney Rooney, before. So, I suppose what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Mulrooney modelled new clothes on Instagram alongside her 3 children. Abigail Spencer, an actor from Suits. Oh dear, I thought she was an actress. Well, clearly I don't know these things, but I thought she was an actress. But anyway, she is an actor. Oh, well, maybe I should give her the splendiferousness she deserves. Abigail Spencer, an actor from Suits, was also delighted that her friendship with Meghan had increased her Instagram following from 100,000 in 2016 to 500,000. Blah, blah, blah. On and on it goes with all of these opportunists marching and milking the royal prestige and the royal system. I wonder if Meghan was on a commission. That's not mentioned in the book. So, where are we now? It now emerges that Samantha Cohen has been replaced by Fiona McIlwam. Now, Samantha Cohen had been a trusted member of the Queen's staff and had been transferred to Meghan, but Meghan had got rid of her because she was one of the people that Meghan couldn't get along with, because she didn't understand that her every minute of existence was there for Meghan's benefit and Meghan's benefit alone. He's rather good on portraying Meghan's completely unreasonable, demanding conduct. Because Mr. Bower makes the point, Meghan doesn't treat royal staff the way royal staff has traditionally been treated. Not for Meghan, please and thank you, or the occasional, excuse me, why did you do that? I mean, excuse me, I asked you to do something. No, nothing like a reasonable reprimand when it is required. No, Meghan is a bulldozer, and she needs to bulldoze everybody into submission. There's then an excellent description of how the palace thwarted Meghan's financial control of the foundation of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex by doing things correctly, because Meghan didn't understand. You see, Meghan is now with Harry setting up this foundation that they're going to be able to utilize to their advantage, as indeed they're doing with Archewell. Well, she didn't realize that in Britain, when you set up a foundation, you're not the beneficiary. The beneficiaries are those who are the ultimate beneficiaries. You, the creator of the foundation, are there to give, not to receive. The palace set it up, and Meghan went. Well, I'm not going to tell you what Bower says. Read it. It's really very well done. Because this is one of the things that gave Meghan the determination as opposed to the incentive to leave. Because she realized, despite her tremendous imaginativeness and dexterity and determination to exploit every system to her benefit, everywhere she turned, the royal system was being run to the benefit of the nation. My God. H, can you believe this? I'm supposed to be giving these schlumps my time and effort for nothing? I mean, what planet are these people on? Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So now we have and I need to quote this to you. By the end of the meeting, the Sussexes were shocked. The trustees, they discovered, were neither mates nor servants. They were independents who would have complete control of the charity's money. My God, this can't be possible. I mean, I'm a woman of class. I gotta have my Chanel. Under the law, the Sussexes would be denied any privacy over the foundation's management. God, it's not possible. How am I going to be able to do things privately that nobody's going to find out about? I mean, I need my privacy. For Meghan, a master of control, the legal requirements of transparency was unexpected. The foundation's legal structure, she believed, was a deliberate attempt to undermine her. Well, I don't actually necessarily agree with that conclusion of Mr. Bower, but I get why he puts it like that. I think she realized she'd been stymied, and she realized she was never going to be able to beat the house with house rules. She was going to have to go to another gaming club where preferably the cards could be stacked in her favor. So now we have Mr. Bower describing Harry and Meghan brazenly hustling. They're hustling at the Lion King premiere. Harry is speaking to Jon Favreau, the film's director, and he says, if anyone needs any extra voiceover work, only to be interrupted by Meghan, that's really why we're here, she said. It's the pitch. Harry praised Meghan's acting abilities. Next, Harry approached Robert Iger, Disney's chief executive, famous for the quip, "They only root for you in Hollywood when your cancer is terminal." "Do you know she does voiceovers?" the prince asked Iger. "I did not know that," replied the executive. "You seem surprised," says Harry. "She's rarely interested." "Sure, we'd love to try," said Iger, grasping that the prince was touting for work. "That's a great idea." So, Mr. Bower now leads us into the rather treacherous terrain of Harry and Meghan prostituting the royal name and the royal rank for royal fees that aren't going to the people of this country, but into their pockets. Or at least that's the ultimate objective, even if every now and then something has to be donated to a charity. But this is what I am saying. This is not what Tom Bower is saying. Tom Bower simply hammers home the points very effectively. So now we have that Meghan doesn't trust the royal staff. But Meghan can't trust the royal staff, because if she trusted them, they would be collusive, and they're not going to be collusive. So she can't trust them, because she can't bulldoze them into breaking protocol. So now we have a rather tame description of the scandalous Wimbledon visit to watch Serena Williams play. Bower misses more than a good opportunity here to really lambast Meghan. He doesn't take it. I'm not quite sure why he doesn't take it. Maybe it's because he's a barrister and he's building a case, and the researchers just put the information in front of him and he didn't understand the significance of what he should be exploring. Or maybe he decided to give her a break. It's not a break I would have given her, because she cleared 40 paying people out of their seats so that she could be protected. I need protection. The Queen doesn't need protection. the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge don't need protection, but I need protection because I'm great and wonderful and I'm so important that everybody wants me. And if I'm not careful, people are going to crush me with their desires. The only person who's going to crush her with desire is Harry. But there we go. That's my aside. Then there is an excellent nailing of Meghan's false claims about wanting to work while she was pregnant. There is also stuff about visits on the private plane, trips to Elton John, all sorts of hypocritical antics which result in press criticism, and she is lambasted for hypocrisy. As soon as this happens, what does Megsie Baby do? According to TomBOWER's, she mobilizes her friends. So you have Elton John, Jessica Mulroney, and Jamila Jamil wading in. And of course, we know that it can't be because Meghan's conduct calls into question what she is about. No, it's racist because Meghan, having that little bit of African blood, certainly didn't reach her scalp. Do you notice how white her scalp is? Must have started hair. Definitely didn't reach her scalp. But you have them wading in to defend Megsie Baby. And then we have a wonderfully acerbic and it's a marvelously acerbic commentary on Meghan and Harry using their royal status to hypocritically lecture everyone. And what happens there? The royals, do they retaliate? Well, read the book. But you have a bit in the book about the Cambridges. And while Meghan and Harry are taking 4 separate trips in a matter of days on private planes, and Archie, of course, is too young to fly to Aberdeen, but not too young to fly to the south of France to stay with Elton John, which is an even further distance than Aberdeen. I'm quite sure how that one worked, but it's yet again Meghan's Meganian logic. And we have the Cambridges retaliating, according to Mr. Bower, by taking a budget flight from Norwich to Aberdeen to stay at Balmoral. Meghan and Harry, of course, aren't staying at Balmoral. Why would they stay at Balmoral? There are no nouveau riche arrivistes there. Oh dear, oh dear. Are we beginning to get a picture as to why Megsie Baby maybe didn't like the royal way? Because she certainly loves money, and she certainly loves a big show and a big splash. But if it's not vulgar, it's not worth partaking of. So chapter 30 is entitled Vogue. And there is an excellent description of Meghan's hopes for the Vogue issue, turbocharging her launch in the US. Because Meghan is doing everything in her power to become the star in Hollywood that she never was able to be before. Of course, ultimately, you and I all know now that she fails, but at the time, she didn't know she was going to fail. So she's orchestrating that at the same time as she's written that work of genius called The Stench, which she has high hopes for. I mean, it's going to sell at least 500 million copies because it's about fathers like H, and it's written by her. And it can't fail to sell at least 10 million copies in the first 2 minutes. I mean, Meghan's, if nothing else, modest. Then there is an excellent revelation of how Meghan deluded herself into believing that she was going to be editing the Vogue magazine article. Sorry, edition. Well, in fact, everybody, and Bower makes it very clear, everybody simply put up with her puerile and insignificant interjections, politely listened and did what they wanted to do. Meghan's editing of the magazine was as authentic as everything else about her has been. Her ambition is something that Bower highlights, and he makes it clear that her contributions turned out to be of absolutely no significance whatsoever. In fact, Enningful was so unimpressed by Meghan's desire to light up the internet that he took steps to, after being pleasant to Meghan, make sure that the magazine was as he and the other professionals would want it to be, and not as this hot air merchant with her puerile and stupid comments was going to make it. Bower makes it absolutely clear that Meghan is abusing her royal position. There is then a very good section of Meghan's new private secretary, Sarah Latham, trying to get the launch date of the magazine delayed by a day so that the US version will trump the British version. And while Sarah Latham is delegated by Meghan to demand something that is totally unreasonable, what does Enningful do? He simply ignores the demand. This is all very well covered. Inevitably, of course, with all of the antics going on behind the scenes and Meghan antagonizing everybody at Vogue, it was inevitable that there would be controversy and that it would leak out. Meghan, nobody told you? Vogue is a part of the media. You can't poke them in the eye and expect them to keep their mouths shut. I mean, how dumb can you be to have had such an unrealistic expectation? Anyway, Bower now has Jamila Jamil yet again playing the race card. Because, of course, if Meghan was caught with her hand in the till of an orphanage, you would hear that she had been set up because of race. And we have all these people like Jamil, hopping in, stupidly playing the race card, unconscionably playing the race card, destructively playing the race card. Because I have had tens of thousands of comments from people of colour who don't approve of conduct like this, whether it is from Meghan or Jamil and whoever else. Well, of course, Enningful rightly told them to take a hike. Surprise, surprise. Why would he have not told them to take a hike? But the magazine did very well. It was the best-selling issue of all time because Meghan at the time still had the patina of royalty on to improve her gloss. And she was sufficiently attractive and controversial. And there was enough drama going on to make a lot of noise, and everybody wanted to see what the noise was about. So it was wildly successful. But not where the royal family was concerned. And at Vogue, they were not eager to have Meg's baby back. So now, chapter 31, and I think this will have to be the last of the chapters for today. It's called Attack. There's a witty opening exposing Meghan's hypocrisy as she, with the view of using the South African tour to enhance her brand, is getting ready to go to South Africa with Harry and with Archie. And with that pat little speech about she comes as a sister, a woman of colour, a woman of colour, a woman of colour, recently discovered colour. But Bower is very good at revealing the cynical purpose behind the tour. The British expect the tour to be a success, expect the interests of the South African and British people to be well served, the interests of the Commonwealth and the monarchy to be well served. They don't realise that Harry and Meghan are using this tour as another stepping stone to America, the land of milk, honey, and marching. This Bower makes clear in the book. He then has some rather entertaining observations of how Harry made a complete fool of himself by exposing his instability. And he draws a very sarcastic and witty conclusion, which I will not spoil the book by telling you what it is. Read the book, it's on page 296. He also has Meghan setting herself up as a heroine, because she is now going to be pontificating to the South African people about how she is ideally placed to be a leading example to womanhood, about the empowerment of womanhood and what women can achieve if they are empowered. But it's all pie in the sky nonsense because, as Bower makes clear, nothing's pegged in reality or practicality. It's all more hot air from Meghan's mouth, except Meghan's mouth chats from the orifice upon which I am sitting. Bower makes it very clear how Meghan's glibness assures her of success. I mean, she was very glib and very capable and very professional. And remember, when she started out, she was infinitely more successful than she is now. And there had to be reasons why, and some of them are in her favor. And Bower makes it clear that she had things going for her. And I agree that he should make it clear, because she didn't achieve out of nowhere. She achieved with something out of somewhere. Unfortunately, the something and the somewhere are what have turned out to be deeply dubious, but that's something else again. While in South Africa, and the tour is very successful, they're getting fabulous press. All of the negative publicity is forgotten by the media, who basically would like a good story and are bending over backwards to give Harry and Meghan a good story, as Meghan and Harry choke off access to the media via Latham, which is an act of ostensible insanity. He does something that's very well observed. He comments on how their public success fed their rage, which fed their paranoia, which fed their unreasonable unaccountability. That's on page 297 and is well worth reading. They are now thrashing around, Harry and Meghan. They are on the internet day and night when they're not doing their public duties. And they are obsessing with what everybody's saying about them. Any criticism becomes a source of hysteria. And they're now thrashing around for people to blame. And who do they alight upon? Victoria Beckham. And Harry phones up David Beckham, who is absolutely outraged, as he ought to have been, that Harry would have been accusing his wife, Victoria, his David Beckham's wife, Victoria, of leaking stuff about wretched Meghan. But you see, Bower is painting a picture that I hope that I have painted for you, not only in my book, but in these videos, of the scattergun approach that Meghan and Harry resort to ensure that at least some of the bullets are going to hit bullseye, because they just take out their machine guns and spray bullets everywhere with no regard for the rights and the sensitivities of those they are accusing. We now have Bower touching upon Bower, and remember, Bower is a barrister, so he knows about the law and he knows how the law works, and he's very good on the legal matters. And he touches upon Harry's settlement of his lawsuits against the Mirror and the Sun, and Harry and Meghan's collusion in having her sue the Mail on Sunday. And he goes into how Harry and Meghan replaced the ordinary court solicitor with Keith Schilling. And in fact, it's not really Keith Schilling. I know Keith Schilling, incidentally. I haven't seen him for ages, but I used to run across him at events. And I rather like Keith Schilling, I've got to tell you. I rather like him. And Bower has a really rather almost snobbish and condescending description of Keith Schilling, which I don't think is entirely respectful or deserved. But Keith Schilling has been a success at something that Bower failed at. So that could account for the denigration that he quite unnecessarily resorts to. Of course, they might have history. Keith Schilling might have tried to sue Bower on behalf of one of his clients. That I don't know. But I did pick up the denigratory aspect to the description, which I thought was, since I know Keith Schilling, completely uncalled for. And also, Keith Schilling doesn't handle the cases. Meghan's cases are handled by Jenny Affia. I'm amazed that Bower doesn't know this and doesn't allude to it. However, putting that aside, he goes into a very good description of Harry and Meghan launching a diabolical attack on the royal family, disguised in the ITV documentary Harry and Meghan, An African Journey, as over the succeeding pages, Bower nails Harry and Meghan's game plan well. Because Bower, being a lawyer, can see the game plan. Anybody who has any knowledge of the law can see the game plan. I certainly saw it, and I'm not a lawyer. I did help my brother to set up his law firm, and I did work at it for several years. First of all, full-time, then part-time, and I'm very experienced in certain forms of litigation, so I know enough about the law to also know what is really going on. You can read between the lines, and Bower does this very well. Well, of course, Harry and Meghan wade in, first of all, with the Tom Bradby interview that was aired about their South African trip. And nobody's asked me how I am. Am I okay? Nobody's asked me if I'm okay. Nobody. I mean, I'm a 38-year-old infant. I need to suckle at the Queen's breast. Yes, I do. If I have not given milk all day, mother's milk, that's granny-in-law's milk. It's because she's a real meanie, and they're all mean. I'm a baby. I need to suckle. drink the milk of human kindness. In fact, I need to drain the milk of human kindness. In fact, if I don't get to drain the milk of human kindness, I'm going to accuse you of racism. Well, he handles that very well. Then he handles the inevitable consequences of Meghan and Harry's treachery. And he makes it quite clear that he regards it as treachery, and good for him. It is treachery. And he does the consequences rather well. And he elucidates upon the stoking of the racist fires by quoting Jessica Morgan and Trevor Phillips. And Trevor Phillips, I have to tell you, is a great guy. And he quotes the voice of reason against the voice of illogicality. And, well, if she's a woman of colour, she's got to be victimised by everybody. Even if she's a perpetrator, she's got to be the victim. I don't care that she's the perpetrator. She's a victim. He then has Meghan getting Max Foster of CNN to propagandize for her. And I know that I have, on this program over the years, shown how expert Meghan and her people are at propagandizing for her. He makes the same point. And it needs to be made, it needs to be ratified, it needs to be absorbed, and it needs to be acted upon, because we are dealing with somebody who is as efficient at manipulating public opinion as Adolf Hitler was. I said it and I mean it. Meghan is as good as Adolf Hitler at manipulating public opinion to her advantage and to the public's ultimate detriment, and certainly the detriment of those she targets. It is destructive, it is dangerous, and it is unacceptable. Hitler wasn't a man of colour, so Meghan's colour has nothing to do with it. Maybe her character has something to do with it. There is a superb observation that I evidently have made a note that needs to be read out, so I'm going to find it. Yes, here we go. Meghan's voice was loud and clear. The monarchy's fate, she thought, depended on her. Her critics were again bewildered. In the 3 years since she first met Harry, Meghan had clearly not grasped that the Queen had been modernizing the 1,000-year-old monarchy since 1952. Under her direction, the family worked in unison as a team. Had Meghan heard the Queen's last Christmas message? As we all look forward to the start of a new decade, it's worth remembering that it is often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change. Meghan has, with Harry's encouragement, convinced herself that she's so big. Mr. DeMille, it's not I who've got small, it's the movies, says Norma Desmond. And Meghan, Harry has said, Megsy baby, you're bigger than my mother. You're bigger than Diana. You're better than Diana. Everybody's jealous of you. The family, they don't want you to shine. They're jealous of you. They're jealous of me. And Meghan is saying, yeah, I'm going to change the monarchy. I'm going to wear black all the time. I'm going to hug everybody. I'm going to get rid of all of that tradition. I'm going to, at midnight, to have the state coach turn into a pumpkin. And you're going to turn into a mouse, Harry. Well, you really are one already, but it's just going to become apparent at midnight. Delusions of the highest order. And Bower covers them very well. Because Meghan and Harry, even though Bower doesn't say it, are both paranoid, self-important, overly inflated egos. It is folly ado. Now, tangential upon Meghan being the royal family's savior. In fact, she's now so big, she doesn't really need the royal family. They need her. So Bower now shows how she's flipped it from being their savior to their prosecutor. And that, I think, you should read for yourselves. I think you should read it. Now, next bit. Archie has been born. The whole kerfuffle of Archie's birth has been glossed over, both publicly and, it has to be said, in this book. Hillary Clinton goes to visit Meghan at Frogmore Cottage in November. And Meghan induces Hillary Clinton to defend her. It's worth reading. Also, there's excellent coverage of Megxit and how Meghan resourcefully organized Harry and her departure by setting up various Delaware corporations before their departure. Bower shows how she and Harry are setting up the situation for Buckingham Palace to be blamed for their departure. I don't entirely agree with that, because I think they want it to be half in and half out. And it's only after that they were thwarted with that objective that there was a need for them to turn themselves into the victims of Buckingham Palace as well. But this chapter ends with Harry and Meghan not going to Balmoral, not going to Sandringham, not going to Windsor, not going to the Wolsey for lunch, but going to Canada. They are going to Canada because they have decided that they need to get out. Meghan has whipped Harry up. The book doesn't exactly say this, but this is what Meghan has done. She's whipped Harry up to such an extent that he needs to protect Meghan by having them spend half the time in California, not that this is coming out yet, and half the time here. It's all about money. Read the book. It's well worth reading. He nails them. He misses no opportunity to hammer home what unspeakably dreadful people Meghan Markle and Harry are. And on that note, I'll say there will be one more of these, and then mercifully no more. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell. Keep the questions coming in and the comments, because this can't be done without you. And after the last segment, which is the next segment, that is the end of the review. Lord be praised. Thank you very much. God bless and goodbye.